Hello, welcome to Generation Mingle. I'm your host. My name is B. And welcome back, my guest, Suzette. Hi. Thank you for coming back, Suzette. So, welcome to our podcast where we all just, compare our generation and trying to learn from each other on different topics. I have received numerous letters from our viewers, guys, and that topic has been persistent coming up. So finally today, we will speak about divorce. Yes, that's the taboo topic that not many of us would like to speak about, especially when we're going through that. Or we are past, we don't want to revisit that topic, but here we are. So let me go through a little bit statistic. We're going to run that super fast today because I have so many letters, I want to include all of them. So based to information from history.com, www.history.com, and I have track information for instantcheckmate.com. Here we are. The most divorced generation is boomer generation. Okay, so boomers born between 1946 and 1964. This generation has the highest divorce rates and has seen a doubling, okay, recently in divorce. Everybody after 50, 60, okay? If it's coming of Generation X, born between 1965 and 1980s, while they grew up doing high divorce, rate with the boomers, they generally have a little bit slowed down, and especially when they remarry second time, they rather go to mediation and, visiting specialists to save the marriage versus drop it all, okay? So millennials, born between 1968 and 1996, their drop have fallen huge because, why? Economy, okay? They have loans, they don't have homes, so they're kind of restricting themselves. They rather live together versus commit themselves to the marriage, which is very understandable. And Gen Z, that has been born between 1997 and 2012, they follow in the steps of the millennials, holding off the marriage. What I think is very smart now that we know, right? So overall, data shows that millennials' marriage rate is just 26% compared to 36% of Gen X marrying and 48% for baby boomers. Why is that? Because, obviously right? Baby boomers got married at the early age. That's what it was.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah, they were married all by 20.
Right. Gen X, we a little bit hold off, right? On that topic, we were just a little bit more cautious, I guess, seeing our parents, boomers, going through something that wasn't satisfactory. So another thing that I want to say that I have learned reading all those articles, do you came to a topic of gray divorce?
I never heard of that until recently.
Right.
But it's very interesting.
Yeah. So gray divorce, it's specifically definition of the boomers above 50, they divorcing. And why is that again? Because of the gray hair, right? I mean, I have already them too, FYI. But anyhow, so this is what is kind of like the opinion that the gray divorce have doubled. And why the reason for the gray divorce that has been doubled recently is because the people just lived together too long.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons.
Right.
I think a lot of it is, and it kind of makes sense because they've been together for so long. They've had children. They've raised their children. They may be empty nesters now. I've seen where men and women, they're growing in different directions. They no longer have the compatibility that they once had. They're interested in different things.
Well, things have changed also. The taboo about, oh my gosh, never divorce,
right,
because of the religious issue or just because of the family traditions, right? It's just different right now. If you really cannot be, comfortable with your partner under one roof, the people stepping out and said, I'm done.
Yeah.
And in addition to majority of the boomers have retired. So now they're spending the time together. Right? Not only 8 hours at work and the wife is at home cleaning or cooking or both have jobs. Now they're seeing each other 24/7. So not knowing that really the compatibility hasn't been as strong from the beginning, possibly, right? So narrowing that down with all the percentiles, since we know why, who marry, and why the divorces is lower for millennial and Gen Z because they're not getting married fast enough, let's go move to a letter because I have plenty of them and I don't want to talk much more about statistics because you all can figure it out, okay? So here we go, very interesting letter, okay? I titled this letter, We Stayed Together for the Kids Until We Didn't, okay? Dear Generation Mingle, I'm a boomer. And my divorce happened after 28 years of marriage. Oof! We stayed together for the kids. That was the rule back then. You didn't leave, you endured. But behind closed doors, there was cheating, not just once, but repeatedly. There were screaming matches, long silence, and financial control. My husband handled all the money. I didn't even know what we truly had, or I didn't have, until the divorce papers were filed. When the marriage finally exploded, it wasn't quiet. It was public, bitter, and humiliating. Lawyers drained what little savings we had left. My children, already adults, were pulled into it. They were asked to take sides. They watched the father accuse me of wasting money and me accuse him of betrayal. The worst part wasn't the divorce. It was realizing that my children grew up thinking this was what marriage looked like. Tension, distrust, financial secrecy. We thought staying together would protect them. In truth, the cheating and resentment damaged them long before the divorce did. If I could go back, I wouldn't stay silent so long. A boomer who waited too long. Yikes, right?
Yikes.
Yeah, the one true, right? Who is the winner doing the divorce?
Right.
The lawyers are, right?
Totally.
Yeah. I just researched quickly, FYI, if you guys don't know, average divorce today, if you own a property and you're in the age that you have access of savings, whichever it is, it's gonna cost you between 10 minimum to $30,000 to $40,000. Okay, that's for sure.
Right.
So again, lawyers are the winners.
Yeah, they
right?
are the winners.
Yeah. So I know plenty of boomers that they did divorce, that they stay home for the significant other. And again, we don't take insights. We're not going to tell you what to do and how. We're not the lawyers. We don't know particular the details of the law, but we know life, okay? We have friends. We have neighbors. We're talking to them. And quite frankly, the boomers is that generation when the wife didn't went to work, right?
Right, right.
But
I know my parents were married for 32 years and they got divorced.
But hold on. Did she complete the job every day, your mom at home?
Oh, of course.
It was a full-time job,
she
right?
still did her full-time job and went to work full-time.
Right? Guys, comment. I'm waiting for the comments, specifically for the boomers, because many ladies did that, right? And suddenly, when it's the marriage done and over, it's horrible for them. They don't have the profession. They don't have much savings.
Right.
So it's tough,
Yeah.
right? And the man was the god. All of them. Again, we're not taking any sides. I'm just confirming what I just read in that letter from our boomers.
Well, I think the other thing to insert into there too is, of course, the boomer generation, it was a different culture at that time for America because it was about, mostly the men worked, the women stayed home, raised their children. And then as everything in society, prices have increased, and then women did have to start working, and it probably did start as part of the boomer generation, and then I think it became pretty relevant that both parties had to
Right.
work, when it got to
Right.
the Gen X.
Well, all of them, they want to accomplish something, right? They want to purchase the home. They want to have the cottage on the lake. They want to have a
Right.
second car. There was a tendency, okay, this is America. We can do it. We can
Right.
do it better. We can do it better for our children. But in the meanwhile, hasn't been really, like completely split as
Right.
what one under the other do,
Well,
right?
and a lot
like
of those women
conversational.
also didn't have the opportunity to learn job skills, so they didn't necessarily get to go in. They didn't go to college, have college educations. They tended to get the lower paying jobs. So again, with them being together, it kind of kept them somewhat of a prisoner in the marriage because of the financial responsibility.
That's true, but actually, I have read that many of the females that stay home during the time, they actually did have education. They did have a college. They just choose to stay at home
Wow,
because it
that's
was more
excellent.
wise to take care of the children. Sorry if I interrupt you. Because the husband, obviously, then in United States, still the got the
Yes.
glass ceiling, whatever they call on televisions, but still the system was then that the men earn more money than
Right.
the female, even with the same education. So it was easier for them to take
Yeah,
care.
for
right?
sure.
Yeah. So I do have one more letter that I want to read, and then I pass on the tabon to Suzette for Generation X. Okay. Here is the title that I named that letter. Okay. We fought like it was a war. Here we go. Dear Generation Mingle, I am Generation X. My divorce happened when my kids were 8 and 11. We were the independent generation. Yep, independent. And I cried that into my marriage and carried that into my marriage. When things went bad, I didn't ask for help. I reacted. There was infidelity on both sides. There was yelling in front of the kids. There was threats about custody and money. We weaponized child support. We kept score. The lawyers were relentless. Every email felt like a battlefield. Every court date felt like survival. The financial burden was crushing. 2 households, legal fees, therapy bills for the kids. My son stopped talking at school for months. My daughter started acting out, not because she was bad, but because she was overwhelmed. I look back now and realize something hard. Their divorce didn't traumatize my children as much as our behavior doing did. We were so focused on being right that we forgot to be stable. Divorce doesn't have to destroy kids, but ego and revenge can. That's what's happened to us. Gen X owning my part. Thank you, my dear. So this lady definitely admit, right, this
Yes.
huge part of that animosity and that fight in front of the children. And I just recently came across someone sharing something with me that they currently a couple's going to the divorce, right, somewhere in United States. And that child visiting father on the weekend. And the child asked, could I take my PlayStation with me for the weekend to my father? Do you know what was the response from the mother?
I'm sure I could imagine.
Absolutely not, because I purchase and it stays with me. If you want to play video games at your father, ask your father to purchase.
Yes.
I'm sorry, in my opinion, gaslighting, huge.
Well,
right?
and I think that's probably one of the biggest things that everybody sees in divorce is that unfortunately, I think that we as human beings get caught up in our own issues that we tend to forget that the children are there. And, you know, again, I was an adult when my parents divorced, so it was a little different. But I know an example would be my husband. His parents divorced, I think he said he was a teenager. And they fought so much that him and his siblings threw a party when his parents decided to get divorced because they were tired of all of the fighting.
I
You
can
know,
imagine,
and so
yeah.
it's so interesting that even parents who think that they're doing it behind closed doors, you know, kids know things are going on and they know that things are not right. And then, yes, I have experienced friends and family who have been divorced, and you see that where the child can't take the clothes with them, they can't take the PlayStation with them. You know, it becomes about everything is weaponized.
It's a game.
Yeah.
It's a game that doesn't make any sense at all, because bottom line is 2 sides don't want to live together. Let the kids out of it, right?
Well,
that
and
that
it's
doesn't
sad.
make any
Yeah, and it's
absolutely
sad
any
for the
sense.
children because,
So,
again, what are we teaching our children at that point?
well, I think we were going to find out in just me the statistic that I read,
Yes.
that our children as millennials or the Gen Z,
And I do think
they,
that does play a part in it.
They slow down to participate in the marriage
Right.
institution. Why I need to go through that? Look what happened in my house. So parents, considering that lovely letter from that lady that she admitted how tough it was, please keep in mind, listen to yourself, listen to your exes about to be, what's going on, protect those kids, because that's really in the end result everything's going to be over. It's going to cost you fortune anyway.
Right.
And you have to recover, and you have to live with the ex-spouse, because it will be the parent, it will be the mom, it will be the dad. You have to learn how to go along. And I think the process should be doing the divorce.
Yes.
How to move forward.
And I actually do have a friend who's a lawyer. I'm not sure if divorce is his forte, but one of the things that, I've always heard him say when we talk about lawyer stuff is make sure, like, go to mediation. That's where, like, work the stuff out together, because once you get the lawyer involved, every penny costs you. You call them, you spend 5 minutes on the phone, they have a minimum billing fee.
Oh my gosh, it's like
You know,
cha-ching,
and
cha-ching,
they're making
cha-ching.
$300, $400, $500 an hour,
Right,
and
right.
your 5-minute phone call now just cost you $100. So yeah,
Don't
it's crazy.
don't put me on hold. Anyway,
Right.
Suzette has a letter that I pass on to her to read, because it's really tough, and I think she has a little bit stronger skin to read this one, because got a couple of emotion brought up with me reading that. It's a tough one, because it is about betray. So if you want to go ahead, my dear,
Yes.
please.
So this is a letter from Generation X. It says, I was saving lives, he was saving himself. Dear Generation Mingle, I'm a Gen X. I don't usually write into shows. We're the handle it yourself generation, but I need to say this out loud somewhere. I was a nurse during COVID, which bless your heart for your service in nursing. 14-hour shifts, sometimes longer, layers of PPE, which is personal protective equipment for those people that don't know what that means. Holding iPads so families could say goodbye to loved ones they couldn't touch, watching people die without anyone in the room, driving home in silence because I didn't want my kids to see me break down. I was exhausted in a way that sleep couldn't fix. And while I was walking into hospitals every day not knowing if I'd bring the virus home, my husband was having an affair. Not just once, not a mistake, a full relationship. He told me later that he felt lonely, that I was never present, that I was emotionally unavailable. I was unavailable because I was trying to keep people alive. Looking back, I can see patterns I didn't want to name then. He needed admiration constantly. If the attention wasn't on him, he created a crisis. He couldn't tolerate not being the center. When the world started calling healthcare workers heroes, he became resentful instead of proud. I was drowning in trauma from the hospital. He was drowning in his need for validation. When I confronted him, he blamed me, said I cared more about strangers than my marriage, said I emasculated him by being the strong one. I filed for divorce 6 months later. What hurts most isn't even the cheating. It's realizing that while I was showing up for humanity, my partner couldn't show up for me. My kids saw the distance, they saw the tension, they saw me come home hollow. I worry what they absorbed about love, about partnership, about what support is supposed to look like. Gen X prides itself on being tough, but I'll say this, betrayal hits differently when you were already carrying the weight of the world. Excuse me. I didn't just lose a husband, I lost the illusion that I had a teammate. Signed, a Gen X nurse who finally put down the cape.
Well, I'm glad that you read that I can release that something of this, okay? Obviously, this is a female because we have a husband, subject here. But I wanted to say on both sides, because I have a friends that serving in military, that's serving in law enforcement and other agencies, okay? So keep that in mind. When somebody has an intense job and you marry into that person, you need to be strong for them. You need to be the survival. You need to hold the mast at home. You're not the weak one. They are the one that exposed to different abuse, whatever it is, from physical to mental to trauma. And I'm just not talking about that nurse. I'm talking here law enforcement, military, you name it, any difficult job, surgeon.
Well, I
Okay.
think part of it too is it's not even about the job being necessarily difficult, but it's more about when you have jobs that are self-sacrificing, and
Right.
those are those jobs.
Right.
And so those people, have the mindset that they're there to help the community and make the world better. So they do need a strong, supportive partner.
Yes,
to
and not
understand
someone
that.
to tell you, "Oh my gosh, I'm alone for 6 months because you were deployed." Please, please, doesn't make any sense at all for me. Why you marry in the first place?
Right.
Do you think that he's gonna be sitting and taking picture with you in that uniform that you guys have together a wedding in the
Right.
church? No, he will be deployed. He will be representing the country.
Yes.
So you need to knock it off, be appreciative, and enjoy that you don't need to work, or I work just part-time and he's doing it all.
Well,
Vice versa. I'm sorry, I'm just very protective of men as well, because this letter again is about the female, but we know that it's under both sides. There are so many marriages traumatized because the females has a problem that the husband, when he's cop, is out every day, or is in close, or doesn't speak. When the moment walk home, they need to decompress. They need to have a peace to themselves, and that's come with different professions. So we need to understand that,
I
right?
do.
And I'm sorry, I'm
No, no,
taking
you're-
a men's side
I'm-
here for a minute,
I'm
right?
interrupting you anyway.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. I think that that's part of the things that we as humans need to be more in touch with, that understanding that when you're dating somebody in a field where, especially in the military, where there's possibilities of them being deployed for a period of time. My brother was in the military. He was deployed for 9 months after having his first child. And one of, I think, the biggest things that you really need to see, whether you're the female, because now there are men that are married to women that get deployed as well, is you need to make sure you have a foundation of support systems all around you. Because if you're a weak person who can't handle not having the attention, like this specific nurse said in her letter, that's huge, because there are people that thrive on being alone, but there's a lot of people that do not thrive on being alone. They need to be the center of attention. They need somebody to be there for them.
Well, Suzette,
and that's one of the things that
you know,
they
guys,
need to look at in a relationship.
Yeah, she just starts different topic that we will talk about. Is we're talking about narcissistic behavior, and on that letter, I definitely see that that person who is so needy is somebody that needs to be admired 24/7.
Right.
So also little something, since you talk about military, and I mentioned as well, keep in mind, whoever is the spouse, female or a male, if your guy is working many hours and it's agent or police officers or a military, keep in mind, when they are so good in doing what they're doing, they need a little bit time to reevaluate themselves when they come back and put in back in the reality and check in. So don't expect them when they coming in 2 weeks and hooray, they're gonna be themselves. No, it takes time to decompress. Just like the nurse takes time to decompress, so is me the military guys, so is me the police officers, even teacher, God bless the teachers, that they send the overwhelm at school. So we need to, that's why I'm learning from all these letters, and I would like that all of us talking about this and exchanging our experience, because that's the reality. I know we're not professionals, we're just having the chat, but it needs to be said because this is so much taboo on set, right?
Well,
yeah, the expectations are really high, right? From someone like military guy, oh, he's manly, he's gonna get that. No, the humans, they have emotions, they need to chill out, right? Sorry, I interrupt you.
No, I think the other part of it too is realizing that these people's jobs affects people's lives. So, that's the other thing, is that you have to remember that they're out there trying to help people make their lives better, help them through a terrible process in their lives.
Right.
Teachers especially trying to help children who maybe not have supportive families or have problems at home. So yeah, it is really important to understand what your spouse does and to offer that support when they do come home.
I have a comment, and that's going to be a good wife, okay? What's her name? Ex-wife. Okay, here we go. Dear Generation Mingle, I don't usually speak publicly about this. For years, I stayed quiet because I didn't want my children to feel like they had to choose sides. But I think silence sometimes protects the wrong person. I gave up my career when our second child was born. It was forced. It was agreed upon. He was climbing professionally, traveling more, earning more. It makes sense at the time for one of us to stabilize at home. That one became me. I manage school, schedules, homework, illnesses, sports practices, emotional meltdowns, birthdays, parties, holidays, elderly parents, and I did it while protecting his image as the devoted provider. We just talk about this. I believe we were building something together. The one day I find out he was building something else with someone younger. The divorce came fast. He said he deserved happiness. He said we had grown apart. What he didn't say was the growing apart is easier when one person has financial independence and the other has sacrificed theirs. What hurt isn't just the affair. It was the narrative shift. Suddenly, I was painted as dependent, as outdated, as someone who didn't grow. I didn't grow because I was holding the ground steady. Now, years later, after remarrying, he wants to revisit the divorce terms, not because he misses me, not because he regrets the betrayal, but because alimony is inconvenient anymore. My goodness, second
bless
time
her.
around, bless her.
Bless her heart.
You know, guys, I wanted to say something because we are running out of time. First of all, thank you, Suzette, so much for joining me on that trip. And I think we will continue in another episode,
We
divorce
definitely
versus
have to do a second episode
yeah,
of this.
but guys, if you like the chat and you're sending us the letters, please subscribe. Please just give us love, give us thumbs up. And, you know, I have something funny to say because I read that somewhere. So if you guys having a bad day, okay, remember that someone poor, woman or a man, sitting next to your ex and think she or a he found the love of her or his life forever. Okay? Haha. Thank you guys for your time. Please subscribe, like I said before. Remember, keep your Wi-Fi strong, okay? Your music loud and your arguments just strong enough to keep on, conversing and keep on mingle.
Yeah, that's an easy one to have a part two for sure.